Now, hopefully, I think.
Are we live?
Are we?
What is live?
What is
What is life?
Are you really asking what is life?
I think that
Life is a breakfast cereal,
42.
magazine, and a board game.
we need to have a serious and intense conversation about the philosophical value of life before we do anything else.
Okay, cool. We'll be here
That
for a
is-
few hours, guys.
Right. That's yeah. Sorry, everybody, but I've been pondering the existence.
You have to say it. You have to say it in Jordan Peterson's voice. You know you have to.
I've been pondering the theories of existence itself, and I just need to let you know that I think I've found the key to life. It's lobsters. It's the reason why I'm wearing this red jacket. So lobsters are very, like, if you eat them, you can attain their powers of immortality, and that is the true meaning of life, I think.
Okay, but like, hear me out.
Okay, what's up? I don't know. I'm dead. How is everybody?
They keep telling me the meaning of life is lobsters, but they're all gay.
All right. So
Jesus.
it is Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Woo!
We're at Hammered Out. I don't know what's going on in the world. However, we do have several people here as guests. We have Bionic Dance, we have Raz, and we have Aaron. So I want everybody to introduce themselves, starting with Bionic Dance. Go.
Hey, everybody, I'm Bionic Dance, also known as Kate. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, the government should be able to round you up and have you executed. Just saying.
Oh shit.
I mean, if we're
Alright.
if we're agreeing to the terms that Steven Anderson has set forth, then at least that's consistent.
And Raz.
Hi, I'm Raz. I'm dating Cirrus.
I'm sorry for that.
I love cats. I'm currently working on a creepypasta channel. And I'm sorry if I pick up Yumi. You guys get to see cute.
You
And I
also
should definitely die.
you also may goddamn. You also may want to tilt your camera up just a little bit because currently there's a hammer that's cutting off your forehead.
There's a
There we
Okay.
go.
Oh, I see. And we have Aaron as well.
Hi, I'm Erin from Erin's Chair. I should also die.
So there's a lot of people that apparently should die in this chat. And Aaron, you used to be, you have like some connections with the NIFB as well, right?
My family is in the NIFB, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is going to be something that we're definitely going to explore as well. So I guess Cirrus, we have things to talk about and shit is
We
going
do.
on.
So, as you guys may have noticed, we have done a little bit of focusing on the NIFB lately. There's a reason for that. It's not just because they're a horrible organization and they've managed to grow when we weren't fucking looking. Somehow in the last year and a half, they went from 13 churches to 30 churches when we weren't paying attention. So, anybody who wants to do that whole, like, oh, if you just don't talk about them, they'll lose their exposure and they'll go away. That didn't happen. So, just throwing that out there for
Putting
anybody.
that out there, yeah.
For anybody that wants to take the ignore and it's going to go away approach, we ignored it. It didn't go away. It actually tripled in size. So, now that we've got that out of the way,
Over the course of a year.
yeah, now that we've got that little bit of information out of the way, let's go ahead and go forward with what they're doing. So, everybody and their mother should know by now, if you've been paying attention to my channel, Jimmy's channel, anybody's channel within the atheist skeptic sphere, there is a thing called the Make America Straight Again conference that they are trying to host as of tomorrow. Tomorrow is when they're going to be hosting it in Orlando, and throughout this, they are advocating that anybody who is part of the LGBTQ/GSRM community deserves to die because Leviticus says so, basically. Granted, I have a book, and there are certain people in that book that say that all muggles should die, so I guess that means that all of us non-magic folks should just go ahead and kick the bucket, because if we use books for that, then here we are. But, you know.
I'm a magic folk, so I'm fine.
Yeah, Ocean's okay. He'll be fine.
I'm chill. It's all good. But
I can use the Force. It works on supermarket doors only, though.
that counts as magic.
Damn it.
Okay, so me and Ocean are okay.
But
Raz, I'm sorry. We have to be executed.
I mean,
guess
I'm a fucking animal nymph, I guess, because like.
Actually, you know what? Raz might survive. We'll just call her a squib. There we go.
so
Look at this dead ass cat.
Should we go to the video that I sent you, Cyrus?
Yes. Okay. So this is tangentially related. This is related in the peripheral to the NIFB. I do not know what associations this particular person might have with their organization.
I believe he's actually in IFB.
Is he?
Let me confirm that.
Yeah,
while we're watching the video, I'll confirm it.
Yeah, go ahead and check on that because that seems. I'm not saying I deny that might be the case, but anyway, this video is from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, who are a legal advocacy organization. Whenever there's something like trying to force prayer in schools through legislation or anything like that, typically the FFRF will get involved and will try to do something about that. This is their forte. They recently released a 3-minute video. Also, we just got a $1 chat from Wolfed Strongbeard with no context, so thank you very much for that.
I know Wilfred. He's a chill dude.
We'll have to go over to his house and be like, "What was the dollar for?"
That's exactly what we should do.
Give us the context.
He would appreciate that entirely.
Okay, so let's go ahead and swap over to the video screen because this is a thing that I haven't been able to do before on Hammered Out, but now instead of having everything set up already for videos, I can now do this. That didn't work very well. Let's try it again. This.
Uh-oh.
Your Thanos snap is pathetic.
I'm sure it is. That all said, hey, everybody can still hear us, but I do need to make it to where you guys can hear and see this too. So give me... Boom! You guys should be able to see the video now as well.
I'm blind. How dare you?
The chat got to see the video before all of us. This is horrible. How dare.
How dare.
Creepy music.
I know, right?
For anybody who's listening audio only, though, it says Grayson Fritz is a deputy for the Knox County Sheriff Department. Anybody who was here for yesterday's stream knows that I covered this guy during that stream. On Sunday, June 2nd, he preached a hateful sermon at All Scripture Baptist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, entitled, Why Leviticus 20:13 Should Be Law Enforced by Our Government.
Oh boy.
But the purpose of this sermon is to show you that our government, like the police, like the federal government, the police, or what have you, should enforce Leviticus 20:13. That is the purpose of this sermon, is to show you that.
Okay, so just so everybody's aware, apparently he is actually part of the NIFB.
He is. Yeah, I just verified it.
All Scripture Baptist Church is in fact part of the NIFB. So this is another one from that organization. These lovely, lovely people.
So this is Knoxville, Tennessee, All Scripture Baptist Church, and they're on the church directory for the NIFB. So the NIFB does in fact claim them on their official website.
Oh boy. Makes sense.
But you know what? I'm sick of sodomy getting crammed down our throats. Do you not?
Phrasing!
I know, right?
Phrasing!
Okay, can we just say what I'm picturing?
I think we're all picturing it.
I think every single one of us just hit that note where it's just like, all right, yep, sodomy is being crammed.
I'm tired of them cramming the sodomy down the throats and turning the freaking pastors gay!
We've hit peak what the fuck. All right, let's keep going through this.
Oh no wait, Atheist Tea Girl just made a great statement. If you're
Okay.
cramming it down the throats, it isn't sodomy.
Actually, I think it is.
Actually, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
sodomy
Sodomy is not strictly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
the
think
only reason we know that is because there's actually legislation in certain states in the United States that defines sodomy as oral sex.
And also on top of that, a lot of times these churches are missionary position only. So like reverse cowgirl is sodomy. So
They must have very boring lives in the bedroom.
I mean,
You know, I
yeah.
think they say they do, but behind closed doors, they give the spanking. You know they do. They all have.
Spare the rod, spoil the wife.
I mean,
oh no.
We do have a few super chats I want to get through real quick before we continue forward. First one.
Bionic Dance just nobody can see it, but Bionic Dance just took out a fucking paddle.
So the first super chat we have is a $5 super chat from Corey Vanderbilt. Thank you very much for that. There's also no context there, so I guess we're just gonna have to go to their house too and try to find the context. We also have 199 from Chris. I'm not going to put all of the numbers there. Will you ever join BreadTube? I'm not 100% certain that I wasn't already on there. I'm pretty certain that just left-leaning platforms on, or harder left-leaning platforms on YouTube are just that by association. That's kind of the concept behind a conquest of bread, where that came from. Literature for people to read. Anywho, next we have a $2.79 super chat from Sadie79. Love you all, including the cat. If you didn't love the cat, we'd have problems.
You have to love all of the cats.
Let's save super chats for the end, I guess, because we're going to be going through some craziness
stuff
with this one. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
So
continuing forward.
Appreciate the super chats, everybody.
State's government or local government, Knox County government, Tennessee government, should put murderers to death.
Right.
Should put rapists to death.
Amen.
Should put kidnappers to death.
Amen.
Should put adulterers to death.
Amen.
Should put sodomites to death.
Amen.
You understand?
If you have oral sex, the government should kill you, according to him.
After a trial.
Can we just talk about the fact that what he's doing is desk abuse, by the way? Like,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry for that desk.
You know, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. For a guy who hates people who are gay, he's really pounding that wood hard.
You know, I was thinking that myself and curse you for saying it first.
Fuck.
I mean,
Are you okay, Ocean?
I'm going to be just fine, I think. This guy's a bit of a jackfruit, don't you think?
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a jackfruit, which is a bigger fruit than a pumpkin.
Exactly. Let's keep going.
You know, I've
They're
never
not any
pumped
different.
my kin.
What?
I said I've never pumped my kin. I'm just saying.
I'm going to go ahead and press the play button.
Right now, and that's why God said, you find one of those, you bring them to the judges, and you let the judges hear the cause, and you put that animal to death.
Amen.
That's what God says. That's what the Bible says.
Pause it. Holy fuck. Okay, so this is one of those things that really gets me when I'm watching this shit. It's not necessarily like there's the shit that the pastor's saying that's obviously fucking horrible, right? But what's worse to me is the congregation of amens that comes after that crap.
And the amens are louder when he's talking about killing the gay people.
Right.
It gets worse.
Well, I do wonder what would happen, though, if they said, "What? Are you kidding me? I didn't sign on for this." I'd love
They
to
get
see
thrown. They
someone
get
like-
thrown out of the church. Actually, that's happened
Yeah,
in Anderson's church, McMurtry's church, and in Boyle's church. There's videos
People
of people
believe
doing
it.
that,
Yeah.
and they either walk out or they get thrown out. And when they get thrown out, it's quite loud. Me and Telltale did a video on Anderson throwing somebody out of his church quite vocally. Yikes!
Yeah, big yikes.
So,
All right, so let's continue with this.
What's that, Aaron?
I was gonna say, so having attended, and not because like I had to attend, but I had to attend because family was like, "Bitch, attend." When you hear that and they're like, you really can't say anything because even if you're in that church as like a teenager, now you have to attend because you're family. If you say anything, you're like you're absolutely like screwed, kicked out the house, going to hell, and you just can't
You
save
get kicked
yourself.
out of the house for disagreeing with the pastor.
Yep.
Because obviously you're a sodomite.
Just like murder,
Amen.
rape, and all of these things, it should
Amen.
still be a crime. Now, should we go do it again? No. But guess what? The government should do their job.
Right.
Instead of running radar on the interstate, why don't you go arrest some queers? How about that? Huh?
Oh, wait a minute. Now, I'm sorry. People speeding might actually kill somebody, but queers? I'm pretty sure they're all just having fun with each other.
I mean, the most they'll do is slay your fucking sense of, like, fashion, because, like, let's be completely clear here. I think his mom still dresses him. Look at the way he's dressed compared to, like, me, a queer.
I
Like-
will say that that suit doesn't fit very well.
It doesn't.
That's
He's
not
got
deep
a
at all. It's too big.
he's got a Sargon of Akkad suit going on for him right
Yeah,
now.
it does have a bit of a Sargon of Akkad suit going. on.
Hi.
You know what he
It's
totally
it's not
needs?
as
A
bad
bow
as
tie.
Sargon.
He needs a
Sorry.
bow tie.
He needs a bow tie.
No, he can't do that because bow ties are cool.
So like, yeah, this
No,
might
don't-
be
don't
this
ruin
is
my
nitpicking at the man, but god damn it, the shoulder
Bow ties.
like, he needs a fucking tailor. But it's not as bad as the Sargon suit, but it's definitely pretty baggy up top, man. It's like, and it's a little bit emasculating to talk about how your shoulders can't fill your suit. Let's keep going.
Bestiality is good. You are saying the same thing when you say that Leviticus 20:13 should just be abolished.
Except that animals can consent. They can't consent. That's the problem.
The straight guy. Because you like watching all the Disney movies. Because you like watching all of these freaks on.
I don't want human beings to die because I like Disney movies.
That seems like such a non sequitur.
What the fuck is he talking about?
Movies, so we should throw out Leviticus? I'm lost.
TV, you understand me? Yep. So you don't want any persecution. You don't want anybody to think that you're a weirdo, and you want to try to go soft on the homos, right?
Yeah, go soft on the homos.
Phrasing.
I have a feeling he's anything but soft on the homos.
Oh no. My poor brain.
If he doesn't go soft on the homos, then we can already let him know exactly the problem here. Projection.
But, I mean, and he says, if you don't want anyone to think you're a weirdo, I will cheerfully be thought of as a weirdo. What does that have to do with it?
I mean...
Look at my background. Look at the wall behind me.
Nobody can, though.
Nobody can right now.
Nobody can quite yet.
It's a rhetorical question.
Oh.
Just like behind you, they can't see you, but look, behind you, weeb.
It's true.
So you're like, well, I disagree with that. Then you disagree with the rest of the chapter. Right. So either admit it or shut up. Somebody stands up, oh, I'm LGBTQ. Here's how it should work. It shouldn't work where we go out and we enforce the laws, because the Bible says the powers that be are ordained of God, and God has instilled the power of civil government to send the police in 2019 out to these LGBT freaks and arrest them and have a trial for them, and if they are convicted, then they are to be put to death. Do you understand that?
Remember, everybody, this guy works in law enforcement.
Yeah, this is the thing, is this guy's a cop.
Well, not anymore, actually. I seem to recall that he's been put on leave.
True.
Here's the thing about that. He's been put on paid leave.
Well, yes.
So, he's still getting dollars. He's been put on paid leave. He hasn't been fired for video footage of him saying shit like this, which should be an immediate termination.
And he says that... Like the government's been empowered by God to do these things. I'm pretty sure it hasn't.
Actually, what's funny, the one issue is that we, in our Declaration of Independence, we actually do have statements like that, like the inalienable rights of people are granted by God and then enforced by the government. So if he's going strictly by Declaration of Independence, then you kind of get to that conclusion. It's the same reason that like Steven Crowder does it. Because whenever Steven Crowder's talking about human rights, he always goes to the Declaration of Independence and goes, "These are given to you by God and then enforced by the government." And then it's just like, dude, stop. You posted cringe, bro.
It is a capital crime that should be carried out by our government. Yes, right. Not Christians, unless you're a policeman.
Shouldn't be killed unless there's a policeman that can kill you.
I love the tone shift in the middle of that segment.
What?
Where like he's screaming and slapping the desk, and then all of a sudden he forgets his words and he suddenly gets a little bit quieter and goes, by the government.
I don't think he wants the government to do the murder. I think he wants to do the murder.
Well, yeah, he's part of the he's part of, like,
he was part of the police force.
Right. But at the time of him making this speech, he was part of the arm of law enforcement that would be carrying this out.
And he specifically says the police ought to have that power to just shoot someone for the apparently dangerous crime of being homosexual.
I mean,
I'm trying to think, like, what
your life?
What is he expecting? Are we like throwing water balloons full of AIDS at him? I mean, how is this working?
One thing that Mr. Atheist in the chat has pointed out, and I agree, has anybody looked at the silhouette penis that's on the wall? Check this out. Like, if you look at, like, next, you see the window, and you go to the left a little bit, like right there. Look at this, like, this bulbous, deformed mushroom of a penis. on the wall here. It's a little silhouette. That's
and
a
he
dick.
and
All
he's
right,
just
anyways,
hold on. Let's trace the eyes. Boom, right at the head. Right at the fucking head. He's staring directly at it.
You know, I think I know why he wants to execute queers, right? He doesn't want his masculinity and wife stolen by someone like me. You know? I mean,
Well, maybe he realizes that inside he truly is queer himself and he can't handle it, and so he wants to be executed, and that's why he's pushing forward this laws to go to God sooner.
Was he actually desperately trying to get suicide by cop by doing this? Oh dear.
Oh,
That's
Jimmy,
bad.
no. No.
So there's the worst part, based on the shape and proportions, I think it's my penis.
Jesus.
And I
You
just
know,
referred to it as a deformed mushroom of a thing. Help everybody. So, anyway, we're gonna move on.
We got another minute left of this.
We got another minute. What is life?
You know what I mean? If you're a policeman, then you know what? It should be your responsibility to carry these things out. But guess who complained on him? A couple of sodomites that deserve death. So they're looking at this kid like, oh, you cookie thief. Oh, you sodomite animal, that you deserve to die, and I'll buy his cookies. Right. That's the problem with law enforcement nowadays. They're chasing around cookie thieves. When the real
What the
animal...
fuck is this shit with cookies?
This man is this. Okay, look. If I wanted to call this guy a man-child before, I have all the more reason to do it now because he's literally angry about fucking cookies.
Did somebody abscond with his chocolate chips as a child, and this is what is like spawned off hatred?
Well, I mean, there's someone over by the podium there who looks like they might be a child, and I'm guessing that kid literally stole some cookies.
These cookies.
And now he's like, well, you know, this kid shoplifted some cookies, and he's being prosecuted. But that shouldn't happen because it should be the queers, right? That's probably what's happening.
He probably like screams about the queers when he loses his keys.
You know,
Like, you know what I mean?
I picture him at home, right? His wife makes cookies, and then as his wife is making cookies, his like child steals one of them, and he just looks up at the sky, i.e., think of like Fairy Odd Parents, just Dinkelberg, but it's just the queers.
Oh my god.
Stubs his toe walking through the house.
The queers! Oh my gosh. Okay, let's continue.
So, quick thing.
Yeah.
In the Discord, in the stream discussion, somebody made a very good, valid point. The wording in Leviticus is actually very vague and could not actually mean put them to death because it's very... It is very vague wording.
Is
I'm
it
gonna
very
pull
vague?
out Strom's Concordance because I think that the last time I looked at this, it wasn't very vague.
No, I'm fairly certain it's not vague at all.
I mean, their blood is on them. It could mean like actual blood.
It's not.
No,
and
it says
is the
put
thing,
them
is
to death.
They don't care what the original language of God's word was. If it's not the KJV, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Boats rolling down Gay Street. Seriously. It's not a very loving sermon. Hey, it's very loving. You know what I mean? Hey, it's loving because I want the government to get these people that's going to harm you out of here. Okay? And the whole purpose of this sermon is to show you that the whole government...
The only thing that I'm gonna how is a person by merit of being gay, how are they going to harm me? Bionic Dance, do you mean to do me harm?
Well, maybe, but not because of that.
Is it because I almost put color with a U on our video?
Yes, among other reasons.
Wait.
Yeah.
You can
The
question that.
words that are in the
Everybody's going to be very confused.
Well, Ocean first, and then I'll do this.
so the words that are in the verse of Leviticus 20:13 is essentially that if a man is to lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, and the word for both is very clear as being two of them. And there are two words for death that are used here. Both of them, it seems like they are to die, and they are to die with death is kind of like the literal translation. So it's pretty clear that they should die. And the following word is is a reference to blood to cause death. So it's like
not vague at all.
They should die by death and death. And it's largely by and blood should happen. It's pretty clear. The thing that is that gets called into question is the words that are meant for man.
Yes, because sometimes
it might be questioning what's going on. It might be actually a pederasty conversation, but then you're still putting a child to death in that interpretation, and that's just not exactly the best thing in the world either. So this is just a terrible verse, no matter really how you interpret it.
But of course, theirs is a loving God.
Of course.
Should still be enforcing that law. Okay, let's bow heads for prayer.
Okay, so, whew, we've gotten through it. We got through it.
That was a thing.
That was a thing that we had to sit through. It was not what I would call the most pleasant experience. But first thing, before we get anywhere else, let me go ahead and catch us up on Superchats, because we got a few of them during that. First one is it's $5 from Mystic Mind Analysis. Their entire argument is an appeal to authority. If God says it, then that's all that matters. I could stand by that a bit. I could stand by that.
I want to point out as well that a point that somebody made in the chat. Zero says that he posted a video discussing how that passage might have been changed at some point. What I referenced was Strong's Concordance, which is it's a translation manual regarding this, going back to the original Hebrew. I'm not quite sure how it would have changed or when it would have changed, but he posted a video talking about how that might have happened, backing up his point. And, if you want to investigate that, go for it. But
I was just referring to the message from the stream discussion that I saw.
Yeah. And that's what I'm looking at as well. It's Zero pointing out. And Zero's a stand-up dude. So if he put a link up there, and I'd suggest checking it out if you're interested in pursuing that.
Next we have, I see the super chat that just came up. I'm going to have to get to it anyway. I'm going to have to say that one in a funny voice, though. So Brian Stevens in the chat for $2. This guy is a poor representation of the South. I wish I could agree with you, but I live in the South, and looking around me, I'd say that he's actually pretty indicative of a good chunk, and that's not a fun thing to say.
Also, the video that is linked is by Digital Hammurabi, which means that it's probably pretty solid. So
yeah,
I would
Dr. Josh.
I would actually go with Digital Hammurabi over Strong's Concordance.
Yeah, Dr. Josh and Megan are real good people.
Yeah.
Next we have .nerd for $10. Thank you and the community for supporting my non-binary identity. You are the best. Well, I'm also dating 2 non-binary people, so I would hope so. But thank you very much. We also have a $4.99 chat from Lucifer. He's officially off of active duty and not getting paid. I live here and know the board of directors for Pride. So that's good news. That is very good news. And then we have a $10 one from Excellence USAF. In Arabic, Al-Qaeda means the base. Bin Laden's envisioned his organization as the core of jihad. I feel like Anderson wants the NIFB to fill that role for terrorism against the GSRM people and allies. The rhetoric is not dissimilar, so...
Really not dissimilar.
I could agree with that. And then, for $5, from Mr. Atheist, Mr. Atheist has unmatched sexual charisma.
I can agree with that.
I don't know. He's a little male for my tastes.
That's fair.
Yeah. Which means that literally any... It's the beard. Literally anybody who is not male has more sexual charisma for Bionic Dance than Mr. Atheist. Mr. Atheist says, you weren't supposed to say it was from me. Dude, you do realize that, everyone can see it's from you. Everyone can. Oh, boy. That's okay, Jimmy. We still love you. Moving on away from the video that made my heart hurt a little bit by mere merit of its existence.
It's still there's still moments in that video that I want to comment on, though, with respect to the audience. There's laughter coming from the audience. There's loud amens coming from the audience, speaking that this pastor isn't shocking his audience at all. They're used to this.
They're there. Actually, it's not just that they're used to it. many of them are there for it, because I've checked it when I cover the NIFB on my channel, especially my earlier videos on them. If you look in the comment section, you can actually find comments from NIFB members.
Right.
Who say that I go to this man's church and I go to it because I love the way he preaches. I love the way he talks about the Bible. I love the way he talks about the queers. He says the truth. And so I see those and I go, I understand that you all are like a million little mini Andersons walking around in that church.
Right.
But it doesn't make me any happier to know that fact.
Aaron, is that cohere with your experience of like going there?
Yeah, and then brain. Atheist T-girl, my brain just died. I was like, people move to join those churches. Yes and no. People join the churches, whether online or stuff, and then the pastors and stuff are like, bitch, you need to move here for your spiritual health. It's going to be fine.
So the church
part of the reason why my family
ordains them to move.
Yeah,
So-
in a lot of cases, the churches tells them where to move to help spread the church and everything as well.
You said that happened to your family? Did your family move?
But they're in Arizona now.
What was the process of that like?
Okay, so I don't know a lot about it because I got hit with the move days before they had done the move.
Days before, because
Which
you
is
were
when
already
I had
you were
figured
already
out that they were
excommunicated from
moving.
the family,
That's
right?
when I learned they were moving.
Right.
And from my understanding, it was they got a call from their pastor, and they were like, you've been requested to move to this church because they need more good souls at this church for the soul winning marathon so that we can save more people and convert more people to the church. And this was in a couple weeks of them having to move. So they were giving a set date and everything in the neighborhood they had to move into. So, like, pretty much down to the street was barely picked out.
This is the same shit that goes on with, like, Jehovah's Witnesses from the Watchtower. It's just Anderson's The Watchtower.
So I'm curious what it is specifically about Baptists that makes, like, because I haven't really seen this outside of, is the NIFB be for Baptists? What is it about them specifically?
What do you mean? What is it about them?
Well, you don't hear, like, this kind of vehement rhetoric. You still hear, like, anti-homosexual stuff from other churches. But you don't see this, like, weapons grade, let's have them executed stuff coming from anyone but these Baptists, apparently. So I'm wondering, is it just because it happens to be them, or is there something specifically about baptism?
So if you look at the history of the Protestant church here in America, what has happened is over the course, look up revivals and Reformation for Protestantism in the United States. There's been a series of these across the country, and what happens is the concept of a revival is an attempt to pull people back to the fundamentals of Christianity, because there's always the rhetoric of we've moved away from the fundamentals set forth by God. And so when a revival happens, there's not only an attempt to get back to those fundamental values, in quotation marks, but there's also an attempt to spread that to other regions. So anybody who has studied the history of revival movements in the United States will see that by just the mere merit of them being Baptist organizations, these are the ones that end up doing the revival movements the most often. It's also the reason why we have the most splinters from Baptist movements, where you get like the Reformed Calvinists and stuff as well that splinter off from that. Because whenever one of these revival movements happen, it's because one section of the church is moving away from another section of the church in an effort to proliferate their particular section.
Okay,
that's why we get
something specifically about Baptists versus, say, Lutherans or whatever, or Protestants or whatever. It's not just a Baptist thing.
Guys, we got some super chats that I think
Yes.
we should look at.
We
Mm.
do.
Oh, yeah, and we can. I've wanted to save the super chats to the end, but we can. If do you want to deal with them now, Cyrus, or do you want to?
So the last time that I tried doing super chats at the end of a stream,
It was a mess. Okay.
it was a mess and I couldn't get to them. So I'm going to do them throughout the course. We do have a $4.99 super chat. Fun fact: Daesh ISIS is roughly translates in Arabic for one who sows discord, which can in some dialects be one who spews garbage. Perfect. We also have a huge $50 donation.
Gigantic, yeah.
Thank you from the NIFB Jesus.
Who's been spitting some dollars on a lot of these streams. It's been pretty impressive. I don't know like what cash mound NIFB Jesus is sitting on, but damn, we really appreciate your support, man. As far as answering question about Baptists and such, when I grew up I grew up in North Georgia, up in the backwoods of the mountains, and I'd hear about these churches growing up there. I went to a couple of small churches, but I'd never heard quite this rhetoric. But I would hear about it from other people that were in families that kind of had this kind of church. And this is pre-NIFB. They think the NIFB didn't even exist when I was hearing about this stuff.
It would have just been the IFB at that point, because it was before the NIFB did their splinter because of the sexual scandals in the IFB.
There was an IFB that this is splintered off from, and one of the disagreements that they had was hard preaching about this subject. But the thing that I would hear the most growing up would be the rhetoric about the existence and acceptance of homosexuality is causing our economic turmoil or something like that. It would be some kind of argument to that effect. That the denigration of our society is through the acceptance of homosexuality, and but we didn't hear. When I was like growing up and hearing some stuff that I thought was extreme, I never quite heard this, that we should actually be changing our laws to execute people, and that's another step. And
that's about the same thing that happened with me when I was growing up. And I don't know. I know that Raz also had a decently strong religious upbringing. That she did the same thing that I did. Just kind of said, "Fuck that." But I know that for me, and I actually grew up in a school funded by the original IFB. Pensacola Christian Academy is a love child between one guy who had a lot of money from the old IFB and a Seventh-day Adventist. So you get your homophobia and your post-apocalyptia, and you sandwich them together into a dystopian love school. And that was my childhood. But we didn't get the execute them rhetoric even from that. Granted, we were children, so maybe that's why. But we didn't get the execute rhetoric from them so much as just this is an abomination, God doesn't like it, Darwin was wrong, moving on. Raz, what was yours like just from your family?
So in the beginning, my mother was never really religious, and neither really was my father. It was mainly just off-branch, grandmother, grandpa, things like that. My uncle, fairly religious. And when I moved in with my grandma and my dad at 15, I was handed a Bible, told dinners were mandatory, and I was to obey my father in whatever he wanted of me. And that kind of set off a lot of red flags, because before I had hopped from religion to try and see if maybe one of them was for me, when I didn't really feel like I needed one, and then suddenly I was forced into one, it was shocking, and I rejected it, and I became a very hateful person because they kept trying to force their religion down my throat, and it strained the relationship with me and my grandmother. And it showed my father's true colors. So
that is saying there were some other things that came from that debacle as well that we probably don't want to go into on stream.
No.
But yeah, no.
Well, even with my Wiccan upbringing, if you were gay or lesbian, you were fine. But anything else in the LGBT, bisexual, pansexual, demisexual, trans, anybody else was needing to die.
But I say that's really weird because
that's some extreme shit.
That's
And
weird.
that doesn't sound like most of the pagans I know either.
No,
right.
That
doesn't sound like a lot of the ones that I know as well. But I have heard of such groups, and was your? I think we might have had this discussion before, but was your background Dianic?
I think so, if memory serves, yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are usually the ones that get really extreme, is Dianic.
See,
Wiccas.
Saying that somebody who's demi needs to get put to death is weird because throughout all of my relationships, you would never be able to tell through just mere functionality that I was demisexual. You'd never be able to get it, ever,
Right.
because it's almost invisible. It's, hey, you get attracted to personalities. You can't get attracted, so you can't get attracted to looks first. There's like a barrier there. It doesn't work. It even makes watching porn hard. So like this just, it's weird. But
Phrasing.
but like it's just it's a weird thing that you can't see. There's no way anybody would know, even with me just being in a relationship, that that's the case. But that's a thing that they would put you to death for. But it's a thing that literally can't affect anything. Like there's an argument that is used when it comes to like gay couples that, oh, they can't procreate, so it's different. I think that it's a bullshit argument, but at least it's like the one that they can throw in their basket, maybe. You can't even have that one with a demisexual. It doesn't function that way. It's weird.
Because you are not explicit. Like the reasoning was you are not explicitly straight, lesbian, or gay.
Except for all intents and purposes, I am straight. Because whilst I am demi, I am strictly attracted to female present.
They just didn't like the B and T and LGBT,
They just don't like the other shit.
or
It's
non-binary.
weird. It's not-
Like they just didn't. It seems like, okay. So with Dianetics, it's interesting because there's one that made a lot of. This is getting off topic from the NIFB, but I think it's important to talk about it for a little bit. There was a group that got a lot of attention called like the Pussy Church of Witchcraft or something like that. That basically was composed of trans exclusionary feminists, and that was a trip as a pagan looking at that, because they were covered by some publications that probably shouldn't have covered them, and covered in a way that was a little too sympathetic, and a lot of pagans got really pissed about it. And that was one of the things that, like, the difference that I've seen in the reaction between pagans and that kind of shit when it gets covered, like, and Christians' response to the NIFB has been wildly different. Pagans get fucking up in arms when this shit happens. But with the NIFB, you know, there's been a few Christians here and there that have been like hard critical of it and all that stuff, but I haven't seen as many of them as I would like coming at this issue, especially with this event happening so close.
Well,
And
I think part of the problem is that none of them are willing to even possibly see themselves as the villains. So when they see these Baptists who are way more extreme than they are, they're probably just like, well, you know, they're not one of us, so they're the bad ones, we're the good ones, la 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 la. We
Right,
don't
but-
have to do anything about it. But then you get other folks, like more left-leaning folks who look at someone who should be on their side acting like wanks. You tell them to knock it off.
why isn't it they're the bad ones, we're the good ones, let's speak out about it, rather than they're the bad ones, we're the good ones, let's be quiet about it? Like, why is that the response? Like when the Pussy Church of Witchcraft situation came up, pagans went nuts for weeks. But when you have this kind of stuff,
Where's the outrage?
where's the Christians?
Okay,
There's a few
now,
of them. There's a few of them, but by and large,
think-
I'm not hearing it.
I think I kind of know, but I'm going to have to make a lot of really hasty generalizations to say it, and I'm sure there's going to be someone who gets pissed at me for it. So
Yeah, that's fair.
And I know this isn't universal, but you'll notice a trend usually that a lot of religious people and a lot of conservative people have overlap. If you drew a Venn diagram, they'd be pretty close on the same circles. And a large part of being conservative is minding your own damn business. And that's probably where this comes from.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense, because there's a lot of I've seen the reaction when I did a post. I can actually pull it up on Facebook real quick, but I did a post on one of these groups about the NIFB stuff, and as soon as I did my post, this one guy, I'll go ahead and let you know our conversation. It was brief, and I was tired, so please bear in mind that like the amount of information I would normally bring to a conversation was not presented. That's not a defense. That's just a brute fact. But I posted my NIFB video, the one I did with Atheist Rationale, and the person responds with, I don't have the patience to watch a 30-minute video about another idiot group. Can you give me a quick summary of why they are so bad? First of all, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit of of information about how to and how not to interact with a YouTuber. How to interact with a YouTuber. I don't have time to watch that video right now. How not to interact with a YouTuber. Can you please give me an excuse not to watch your video? So, they just throw that out there right now as just like things to and not to do. If you don't have time to watch a video that I produce, that's fine. But if you ask me to give you a rundown of what I go over in the video as opposed to watching the video, that's antithetical to me having a job as a YouTuber. So, anyway.
Oh, the sheer number of times I've had someone like they watch one of my videos. All of the answers to their questions are right there in the video, but they're not satisfied unless I repeat it to them verbatim in comment form.
Yep. So the next thing
I had something with that on my vaccine video.
Real quick, I want to point out something that Lucifer, who's been extremely supportive, is in the chat saying that she had a grandfather that stood up about this in a church recently and was taken out and told to meet the deacons in an alley. And
Jesus,
this is one of the things that gets frustrating about, and like to talk a little bit about the issue that I was bringing up earlier about Christians and groupthink and this kind of like thing, because there's a lot of people talking about groupthink in the chat and all that, and I agree with them. And I think that there's another element that is, in order to criticize these Christians, it gets into as a Christian, it gets into a scriptural debate. And this concept that the NIFB is preaching is in black and white in the Bible. And that's a problem for any Christian that wants to disagree with them.
Yeah, because what'll happen is when you get into the scriptural debate, you can have the Christian that comes in with the original. They can come in with the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek for everything, and the person will go, "That's not what it says in the book. That's not what it says. It says it right here, right here in Deuteronomy."
Deuteronomy.
So
that is a new book in the Bible.
So
people.
Deuteronicus.
Deuteronicus.
That's
so it's weird.
It's a book of the Bible, also a dinosaur.
But during my conversation with this person, I said that this group advocates for genocide and a foreign takeover of the government, because this is a thing that Anderson said recently in a sermon, that he would like a foreign takeover of our government as long as they would kill gay people. That's all he cares about. So I guess he's okay with Sharia invasion. That's
another thing. It's you wind up, if you just switch the book, you wind up with a justification for Sharia law and that kind of shit.
Yep. So when he responded to me, he goes, "And what makes them special and not just another idiot cult with no reach? Do they have 500 million members with worldwide reach? Do they have means and plans to carry out this genocide?"
Is that the bar for criticism? Is 500 million people?
Apparently, 500 million is required, I guess. Which is weird because that's
it seems like a weird ballpark even to put that in.
Which is weird because that's more people that exist in the United States.
Right.
And at the end of this, he says, are they just talking shit and making no difference at all? So I said,
comparing them like Jehovah's Witnesses or something?
I don't know. My response was, I guess Jonestown was also just an idiot cult with no reach. And Heaven's Gate was as well. More to the point, I grew up in an old environment these guys are an offshoot from, and my roommate escaped that cult, but her family is still in it, so I have my personal reasons for ringing a bell on this. Their response: "That is a piss-poor argument and lazy. If I was to tell you about a cult, I would have the worst, most heinous shit bullet-pointed and ready to convince anybody. It's almost like if you watched the video, all of that shit is in there."
Let's also add, I have younger siblings. I have two siblings. One of my younger siblings is very not straight and just got married. Anderson wants my younger sibling and their spouse to die because they happen to be of the same gender. Both of them. So if you want to sit there and be like, "Oh, but they're not making change,"
it doesn't matter if
and spouse are moving to an area with a lot of NIFB control, not Arizona.
Well, one thing that I have never gotten a, forgive me, straight answer on from these people, is what harm is being done. Because if we're going to have justice, I mean, what is justice if it's not a response to a crime?
They actually do. They actually do have an answer for that. Their answer for that, and granted, it's a bad answer. It's a shitty answer, but their answer that they say is that gay people are, and they have like 3 different justifications for this. Gay people are the same as pedophiles to them, and their justification for this is either A, if you'd sleep with a man, you would sleep with a beast. If you would sleep with a beast, you'd sleep with a child. They just fall right into slippery slope. They'd say B, it's just as bad as bestiality or anything else, and that leads you down that same route. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
They just make the connection.
They make their reasoning
because it shows up in lists in the Bible together.
But I mean, even then, even if it's like, well, if I'm gay, that will make me want to be attracted to a child. Well, want is not a crime unto itself. What have you done? You know?
Yeah.
Except, okay, so two responses to that. One, under a Christian idea, any sin is worthy of sending you to hell. So, technically homosexuality and blasphemy and murder are all the same. The other thing is that if you look at the passage in Matthew talking about how Jesus saying that if you look at a woman in lust, you've committed adultery. That means that thinking about sins are a sin. So having the desires, sin.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that passage before. We all have, but at the same time, I mean, I think you would have a hard time proving that in a court of law.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
And this brings us to the thesis of the episode, which is, why do these people deserve to die? For instance, Raz up in the corner there. Raz, what is your sexuality?
Gray ace panromantic.
So not straight.
You ain't straight.
No.
So why do you deserve to die?
Because I like titties.
But then
Flip it.
just clip it. Why do you deserve to die? I like titties. I mean, have you seen what's behind her? I mean, it's just waifus.
Raz has
Floaty skirt waifus.
So, like, when you get into that, it just say, hey, what is your sexuality? Okay, not straight. Okay, cool, you deserve to die. Like Bionic Dan said, why? Like, what's
the harm?
Like, what is the harm? If my girlfriend goes out tomorrow and finds Emmett, let's just say that teleporters exist and Gaelic Knox comes here, or she goes over there and just fucking motorboats the shit out of her. What in those actions merits death? Consensually motorboats. Yes, that's important. But what merits death there? What merits death?
Yeah, I mean, what harm has been done?
I too have titties, and you see, if I take my titties away from you and give them to someone who also has titties, that is a crime against you, my husband, my man.
So because you get to rub nipples with somebody else, you must be put to death.
Law of conservation of titties.
As somebody who happens to like
sees the means of titties.
biologically, I like both reproductive portions. But I deserve to be put to death because boobs are great.
Gaelic Knox just came into the chat. I came in with titties. I was speaking to the chat in no uncertain terms about you and Raz rubbing each other's nipples together, and therefore Steven Anderson thinking that it's okay for you guys to die as a result of that.
Super chat from Excellence USAF. I also like titties.
I also like titties.
I also like titties.
Silas says I heard titties. Oh no.
We're like completely agreed upon just the value of titties and liking them.
Titties and pizza, and there's a wonderful picture of Raz that is both of those things.
There is.
Thank you, Silas.
Off a slice.
I have to thank Silas for that picture. It exists in the Discord under NSFW.
What is happening to the world? What stream am I on right now? What has happened?
At which point, everybody in the chat is agreeing with these statements.
Now just wait.
Yeah, all right, chat. Press 1 for titties, 2 for no.
No,
titties.
no. Press H. Press H for titties. G for no titties.
We forgot tacos.
and P
Yes.
for titties and pizza.
No. H, 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 H. All right, everybody. You know what that means, right? This is very H. The chat is very H. Oh, no, there are some P's there
I'm
now.
totally putting peas in there now. Why?
Damn it, Ocean. You ruined the very H meme. You know there's a whole image and everything I put up for that, right?
I just wanted to.
You just want to ruin my life.
I wanted to get a little pee.
You wanted to get a little
somebody,
P. Anderson says you should be put to death.
And fuck, somebody keeps saying HP, and it's like, yeah.
HP.
Was that Harry Potter?
Titties, and pizza.
Better say, does that mean that we have Cthulhu coming now? Because I heard H.P. Lovecraft. But there's a certain type of Lovecraft that will get you killed if Anderson has power in a theocracy.
The chat is going too fast.
Sure.
Several people are typing.
Meanwhile, I hold this pussy as it.
Oh my god, no.
Please.
Bad! You know, no.
All right, getting
Bad.
out the hammers.
Bad.
That's it. Uh-oh, here he comes.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
I can't do this.
Hammer will be still.
That's a paddling. Oh no! That cat probably had a heart attack.
Every time someone says pansexual, my thought is they have sex with satyrs.
All right.
I can confirm,
press,
as somebody that is pansexual and has a satyr girlfriend, that is true.
Press F to pay your respects for the cat right now. He's
He's okay.
freaking out. Are you okay, Yumi?
Come here. Oh, she's so scared. So comfy, and he just came in like an asshole. Oh no.
He's like on edge.
She keeps looking around like, is he coming back?
Poor baby.
Oh.
I need a kitty to hold now.
Somebody, the chat is full of F's for
Yeah,
respects to
paying
you.
respects.
Now you're gonna
Emmett's-
go get Columbia.
Cyrus has a cat.
I do.
Emmett-
I have Baba.
Emmett says he came in like a fucking dick.
Are you really about to steal Baba from me?
This is my daughter.
After what you just did to Yumi, if Yumi had peed on me again, I would have fucking.
Fine.
All
Fine.
right, we got super chats. Jake 3D says hashtag bad Cyrus, and we have one text back from Fenarala.
Oh my god.
Venerology.
I did not realize that Yumi was going to do a leap.
Yeah, no, you came in and she just started like freaking out. She... Spaz.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Ocean's just smacking himself in the head. Okay. You okay, Ocean? Can I just say that, like,
People, it's fine.
What is this stream?
your skin was doing like a ripple when you did that?
What? Oh, now I gotta look for it.
Oh my.
It doesn't ripple.
It does.
I didn't see it, but you know.
Okay, so the question becomes: so we've established that there's no good way to connect being gay, being pan, being bi, being demi, being anything that falls in that spectrum. We've managed to make a very solid argument in that there wasn't an argument to fucking begin with, that there's not a connection between that and actually any real harm. So my question.
No. Yumi.
Is Yumi doing a run?
No, Yumi's under my feet and I accidentally like slapped her in the face as I put my legs down.
You know what sucks about living in the country? Every now and again, a bug will just get into the house. There's one flying around my room, and I'm just like, dude, I get it. You want to be part of the show, but fuck off, please. So, the ants here are giant, by the way.
They're terrifying.
They're big, but so if we've not been able to make a connection between these things, if there's no good connection to make between one person being gay or one person being any type of sexuality and any real harm coming from that here, why do we have this? Aside from, just my book fucking said it.
It makes baby Jesus cry.
Bible?
What?
Did you just say a Bible?
Yes.
Are you surprised?
No.
Are you okay, Ocean? Is that how you feel?
Roughly. This is art from Jack and Quill, who made me an avatar set a little while ago, and I think it's just the most hilarious thing.
Jack and Quill's amazing.
Is that a mustache or tentacles?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Silver Elephant Gaming just said, I just wrote to my MP about the NIFB church. It's good because they actually have churches in other countries. So, I believe was it the Netherlands that just barred them from speaking recently?
Ireland's the most recent country.
Yeah, and then on top of that, so the countries that they're in is America, Canada, South Africa, and the Philippines.
And one more.
I think they have 3 churches in the Philippines and two?
They're in 5 countries.
Okay. And what's the other 2?
So America, Canada, South Africa, Philippines. I can't remember the 5th.
I am going to their church directory now because they had it shown.
Unfortunately, I guess we can't get him banned in America just because we do have religious freedom. I mean, there's limits, I would hope, but I guess we can't limit their speech. I don't know.
So what we can't limit what they say in premises that they own. That's a thing we can't do. We cannot.
Australia.
Why? Anywho,
wait, really?
Good on you, mates.
No, not good.
What? I thought. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's where they have a branch. I thought that was one of the ones where they got kicked out.
No, they have a branch there.
Australia.
So.
No, they. For clarification in the chat, no, they weren't kicked out of South Africa. They have a church in South Africa. So the places where they have churches, not
there,
kicked out.
There are 3 countries they have churches.
We're talking about banning and where they have churches in the same sentences, and that's bad on us.
Yeah. So they have churches in 5 countries. Anderson specifically has been banned in 30. 31 now, I believe.
32.
32?
The places where they have churches, as has been stated, is Canada, America, South Africa, the Philippines, and Australia. Where they've been banned from is a myriad of European countries, and most recently Ireland. But I don't have a list of all the countries that Stephen Anderson has been banned from, but it's substantial.
So
he used to only be banned from 4 countries. This is how this happened. He went from 4 to 31.
How fast? Like, what happened?
The group of countries he was banned from are part of an economic trade system. So when you get banned from one by entailment, you get banned from all of them at once because they're loosely connected countries in the same way that the states of the U.S. are connected to form a country.
Got it.
So he got banned from the Netherlands, which then led him to be banned from 31 countries total. I think
it's
to Emmett, because Emmett asked if he was banned from New Zealand. He actually is.
Oh, okay.
Just good. We do have in the stream discussion chat on Discord, which if you're not a part of my Discord, please go ahead and hop there at any point. In the stream discussion chat on Discord, we do have, often I've heard that God knows what's best for people, and that being gay is unhealthy for a person, and that's potentially justification. It's not really, because that's just another argument from authority. Mother knows best what's good for you, so mother's going to feed you, colloidal silver. Colloidal silver must be good for you. This is the same argument. It's just as bad. But back onto the what can be done about things like this. So you can't limit their speech on premises unless they are doing direct calls to violence. And legally, they've managed up until now to skirt some of that by constantly doing the thing that Ocean pointed out before, make the call to violence and then say, but I think the government should do it. That's what I was supposed to say in the script, right? That's been their way of legally avoiding the repercussions of calling for this violence. Now, there are a few things, though, that you can do, and that is limit their funding. So they do get funding. Many of these churches get funding via PayPal, and that's been cut off from several of them recently because people have been reporting them to PayPal because PayPal does not want to be associated with them.
Here's the route with that. PayPal works very closely with the Southern Poverty Law Center, also SPLC. And Southern Poverty Law Center has a database of hate groups, I believe in the world, and I know in the United States. And what they do is they keep track of hate groups that are like extremist Christian, extremist Muslim, white supremacist, etc. Like anybody that's got like hard anti-Semitic or anti-LGBT or like things that could be considered being a fucking hate group. And the PayPal has in their wisdom decided that they like the SPLC's definition of a hate group. So if you can get the SPLC to recognize that there's that a certain church or something is a hate group, PayPal in their communication with the SPLC will cancel their PayPal abilities. Now, what they've decided to do as far as responses to this, there are a number of things. Some of the things that they've done is instead of they'll still use PayPal, but they'll transfer it over to an individual, being their wife, like the wife of the pastor or something like that.
Yeah. And it's a lot harder to do something. A lot
harder to go after an individual like that. So, because if it's the pastor, it becomes very obvious that it's church related. If it's the pastor's wife,
it's the same thing.
Obvious. So
this is the same thing that's happened when there are certain.
And then they'll start using members if that doesn't work.
There are some Discord servers, some that I like and that are good, and that have had to resort to this because Discord has some weird policies on what they will and will not allow. And then also there are some not so good Discord servers that have had to take this route where the ownership of the Discord server, let's say for instance there's a white supremacist who owns a Discord server, they might transfer ownership of their server to another individual because if you get your account banned for speech that is like white supremacist,
right?
All of your servers that you manage and own go with you. They disappear. So what'll happen is like if there's
sometimes be like a dummy account or something like that too.
Yeah, they'll throw it onto a dummy account. That way, in case they get flagged or they get reported or anything like that, the dummy account holds the server still, and all they have to do is just make a new account under a pseudonym, and then they're good to keep on going. It's the same strategy that happens here too. Now, granted, on the flip side of that, there are people who advocate for good things who get hit in the crossfire of this and have to resort to the same tactic. So I'm not saying the ability to use the tactic should be removed. Because it's both good and bad. It just can be abused by these people, and has been abused by these people to skirt this stuff. Go on, Ocean.
People are also talking about tax exempt status, and there's some uncertainty as to whether or not these guys are actually 501c3s. There's some of them might be, but it's there seems to be some stuff that's up in the air about it. And there's also some questions about whether or not they are considered de facto 501c3s because of their operating as a church, very obviously. So there's a lot of questions about that. As far as getting tax exempt status revoked or something like that, I think that we should probably look up what the method is on that and figure it out. There was some talk about that with trying to revoke tax exempt status from the Church of Scientology because they were operating as a business rather than as a church. But I don't think that you can levy that criticism against this because they're just operating as a hate group rather than a church, which isn't quite the same problem. So it requires monetary abuses to really have that status removed, or specific kinds of engagement with politics, which oddly enough, this kind of stuff, I don't think that fits under what you can get revoked,
which is
a 501c3. But I may be wrong on that. It's something that's worth looking into if you're interested in pursuing that.
So maybe it's just the ones I've met, but Scientologists seem to have no sense of humor. Or at least they don't seem to know when you're ripping on them. Like I've been to their booths. I've sat down and held the 2 little tin cans that are supposed to do the e-meter test thing, and cracking jokes the entire time. and they don't seem to realize that they're being.
Seems that many things have frozen. There we go.
Their attitude about jokes is just to be very serious about it and pretend like they don't exist, and they figure that if no response is given, it's fine. Like when there was an internet raid on the Church of Scientology some time ago where there was several protests